is important.
Good morning and welcome to yet another edition. And this is the Tuesday edition of the Burning Issue here on the Happy World of 5 FM radio on 89.9 in Lusaka. And remember, we are also live on our radio stations. We are live on Katete FM, covering literally the entire Eastern Province on 103.3 FM. And not forgetting, in Kabwe, we are live on Spice FM, covering Central Province on 91.1 FM. And in Kapiri, ZFM is also carrying this live, and they are on 100.3 FM, also covering the pretty much the entire Central Province. And not forgetting, we are live on the Copper Belt, precisely in Ndola. That's where our partner radio station, Platinum FM Radio, is. And that's on 99.7. We are also live in Mansa on Tuta FM 90.7. And of course, Tuta FM covers the entire Pula province. We are so grateful that you found time to tune in into this particular program. And this is The Burning Issue, and I'm your host, Zachariah Banda. Now, today, our guest is the Patriotic Front member of the Central Committee, the Honorable Greyford Monde. He is one guest that we haven't hosted in a long time, and of course, it's for us, it's a great opportunity to host him. Let me officially welcome him. Good morning and welcome to the Burning Issue.
Good morning. Thanks, Mr. Banda, and good morning to those who are listening to us, Katete, Kawe, Kapiri, Ndola, Mansa, the entire Luapula, those who are listening on social media and various platforms. It's a good morning for everyone that is listening.
Indeed. I must mention, as far as the social media platforms are concerned, we are live on the PF Kada Network page, and also don't forget our own page, 5FM Radio Zambia. You can like and share those two pages and leave us a comment if you like, and we'll be grateful to read them out. Like I earlier said, it's been long. We haven't spoken. I think the last time we spoke, you were at the height of campaigning as a presidential candidate for the Patriotic Front at the time when there was a looming convention then. And of course, that's water under the bridge. But I know that your aspirations remain. Yeah. But a lot has happened in between. I think we saw the comeback of the late President Edgar Lungu into politics, and subsequently his illness and demise. And let's get into how the demise of the late president has changed the political dimensions, the economy. Has it been affected? Generally, how much has this affected the well-being of the country?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Banda. And you see, let me quickly say, the convention was not looming. There was a convention that was announced by the party leadership at a time when President Edgar Lungu had indicated that he was intending to, he had resigned from active politics. Right. And at that moment, there was a vacancy. And through that vacancy, the party announced for a convention that was to take place to replace a president, a position of a president. And it was that got us to where we went and how far that we had gone, where candidates were invited to, those who were willing. And the party came out, had a list of about 9 members of the party that showed interest to participate in this election. And I was one of them. And I'm glad to say the vision and aspiration hasn't died. At the right time, after being guided by the party, we will again use just coming out and say, okay, now I'm running for president and this is what we're doing. So we'll be guided. That said, I want to say a lot of things have happened in the party, and it's of great concern. And what is just saving us as a party is the fact that the public, the Zambian people, are very aware of every step of the politics that's happening in this country. Every step, literally, they are reading beyond the curtains. So you can bring it whichever way. Zambians are aware that the convention would have taken off, and that at a certain time the convention was disrupted, mainly through sponsored guns that came to attack the party. And how do we know those were sponsored guns? You can even see how even today that Honorable Sampa, despite him having come out to say, this is a position, the party has not been given back to the PF. You can even see how that what looked like a mere meeting turned into a convention with full protection of government. The police was all there, stopping the owners of the party. And these are the matters that we've been arguing at court to ensure that we can get back the party. Yesterday, very saddening, Zambia woke up to a rude show where one Honorable Chabinga went out to start attacking again all members of the PF, that if there will be a convention, then this will happen and all of that. You can even see. I like the analysis that one brother of mine, Kenny Dumbo, at his page, is actually saying, ukaona saying, if you see a blind man telling you that I'll stone you, then you know that he is actually stepping on a stone. Just in this is illustrating the confidence and just how that a man, an ordinary member of parliament, can come out with those warnings. And this is not the first time he has done this. Last time he warned that anyone who puts on a regalia in the elections and so on, they must not be allowed. It didn't take long. We saw enforcement coming from government, including certain territories that were announced, and PF cannot participate in elections. Today, you can even see, despite being the largest political party, because of this same thing. And obviously, we as PF know for sure that we will not be spared from the attacks of a failed government. The only reason why other political parties are not so much being attacked, I know that is generally the entire opposition is under attack, but particularly the taking away of the PF is a fact that this government, because of their failure to have delivered the promises that they had promised the people, they would really want to kill the opposition. And in killing the opposition, their target is to target or to go for the largest opposition political party with many members of parliament in the house. So that is their strategy. And Zambians are able to read that. And this is why today you can even see that despite all of this happening, when the Honorable Sampa was still purporting to be president, he can make an announcement whatsoever. There will be no one coming to his meeting. This Chabinga is also busy talking the same language. I'm telling you, the PF don't. Today, if we say that Chabinga make an announcement that PF members must gather at a school ground, school ground, maybe Kamulanga Primary School, a school ground, or maybe Lotus, just a school ground. He will not even have 100 people there coming. And if they do, those will be sponsored. If the PF leadership, through Honorable Given Lubinda, say, or the PF leadership say, let's gather in the stadium, that stadium, the Hero Stadium, will be full. That clearly tells you that the PF is no longer just the holders of a certificate. The PF is now the membership itself. It's the members that own the party. And that gives us comfort as the leaders of the PF that with that, we are not actually worried. And if that does not worry government, then I'm afraid. I don't even know how they are thinking they will navigate through the next election. So that must cause them to worry, really, that the part they're trying to stop is never shrinking. Actually, we grow. The more they're attacking the PF, the more stronger that we become. And it's a matter of time. If they will choose to keep the PF as a name, Zambians will tell us, all members of the PF rally behind this party. And when that time comes, it will be a backlash on the comfort of the UPND government in power today. So this is where we are at. I thought I should make mention that, and also say that it's so sad that we lost a leader. We lost a leader that loved this country, a leader whose record, whose legacy will be very difficult to just erase or challenge. You can see how that the man, even in death, is still sending serious threats to those that are in power. There's no comfort, even just in his a funeral program. You can see what's happening now. So this is the man that has developed this country. They're all four corners of this country. Anywhere you go in this country today, any district, you'll be able to point at a number of infrastructure projects that he has put together. Sector by sector, this man delivered. So his loss obviously is a great loss, not just to Zambia, to the region. The man was a unifier. You saw how that he was called to mitigate or mediate over many wrangles, standoffs in the country, in the neighboring countries, in the world. He was an international man. That's a man we have lost. This man, the sports fraternity still mourn him. That is President Edgar Chagwa Lungu. He was a sportsman. He actually did not just speak it. You saw him go out to run. You saw him go out to exercise. That is a man that Zambia is mourning. That's a man that Zambia has lost. This man was a worshiper. He feared God. He went to church. You saw how that they struggled even after his coming back to politics. You know, even before, they literally stopped him from entering church. That is the influence of how far President Edgar Lungu had exerted on the Zambian people. They stopped him from going to exercise, an activity that was going to get him more healthy and encourage many people. He was a farmer. You saw how farmers celebrated under his time. You go and check your records, you'll see that this man, okay? And I'll tell you one thing. It's not because he was a Mr. Know-it-all. President Edgar Chagwa Lungu believed in a human resource. He believed that everyone must participate in the national development of a country. So sector by sector, whatever advice he got from experts, senior citizens, Zambians, those that are qualified, he implemented exactly that. And today, the credit is going to him because he knew that you can't be an all-rounder. You can't advise every sector. Okay. There are many people today that have advisors, and they advise their advisors, you know, and that is one of the big problems that this government, the UPND government, has now, is that there is no trust to take advice from the people that have been appointed to advise. Okay, so that is a very big problem. And so because of how late President Lungu took out to listen, you could even see that he was able to deliver these projects, education sector, all of these things. So he really came out to ensure that he works as a team. And we look forward to a Zambia where every Zambian from all the four corners, okay, now this is symbolic, from all the corners of this country, we want all Zambians to participate. And this all-inclusiveness, which people now say tribalism, is a big threat on our country. The moment you begin to segregate your people because they belong to this group, or they look tall, or they look short, or they are dark, or they are white, what you are literally doing is you are depriving your country or your organization from achieving better than you would if everyone was involved. So these are some of the problems, and you can even see that right now. I'm not sure how the country is balancing in terms of human utilization. Is everyone participating? Is everyone's views taken? Are there traditional leaders being heard? Okay, are all the tribes being heard? Okay, are all the sectors being heard? When the engineers have a view, is that taken? Or maybe because the one who's leading that organization belongs to a group that you don't like. Okay, is the football or the sports fraternity. So these are factors. Okay, and because of that, the output on the country, the GDP of the country, is pretty much hinged on all people, all member involvement into the activities of the country, which create a good economy, which create results that are going to be seen by everyone in the world. So we miss President Edgar Chagwa Lungu. Definitely we do, and we will miss him forever for the many things that he has done for this country. And his death, if you look at the politics right now, there is a torment on the politics. There's nothing happening right now, okay? Because as much as we've not yet buried him, it means that there's very little we can be able to do. And so we pray that the standoff should quickly be able to be resolved so that we can move on.
How I mean, just pinpoint for me how that has affected the political well-being. Quite all right, you've mentioned everything is halted, but how? Why? Because you would want to say maybe what has been halted is everything around the Patriotic Front. Do you think this has affected the UPND as well? No.
Yeah. So, in fact, that's a very good question. And when we talk about the Patriotic Front, you're actually talking of a part or a figure in the opposition that has quite a big stake. Okay, and this goes without saying. The PF is such a huge stakeholder in the opposition that without the PF as participation, then you know that you will not completely say that the opposition is participating in any political activities. You see that where PF is not involved in elections, you have seen how that the ruling would really take a bigger lead in the results, because they will literally be almost like they're the only ones on the show. Okay, but the coming together of the opposition, all political parties, including the PF, brings a lot of challenge to the ruling UPND. And this can be attested. There were by-elections that have happened where PF was not 100% participated. You see the results, how they've been coming out. It's like it's just a one-man show in the race. And that should actually get the UPND to worry, because the day that the entire opposition is going to unite and work together, okay, the entire opposition, and that is the call from the Zambian citizenry, that we need to get a united opposition. UPND will have no time to re-strategize, because if they are really relying on just what they are seeing today and think that what is happening are elections, that is actually daylight dreaming. So let them stop dreaming. The Zambian people have gotten to a point where you can win all your by-elections the way you want. The general election is going to be a different ballgame. And if the UPN really wanted to do some mock testing, just to check their sincere popularity, let them allow for a free by-election anywhere, free by-election in this country. Since they have appetite for by-elections now, and they are really causing them at a very faster rate, that even when the court, sometimes matters are still in court, they've gone ahead to call for these by-elections, again through parliament declaring seats vacant. If they really want to have a foretaste of what will happen in 2026, in fact, to say 2026 is gets us to look like it's very far. A test of what will happen in just countable number of days. Let them allow for whichever will be the next by-election, for them to fully just say, let opposition participate, they will see the results. And that is going to be the result in the 13th of August as the results of the general election. So for me, really, if UPND is celebrating, and they look like they're really celebrating, and they've got a field day on on the by-elections, because the PF is still mourning, let them continue to enjoy that. But it's very temporal. It's very temporal. I know how that eventually they will have wished they had known how they would have probably tried to improve themselves as a party in order for them to know the true picture on the ground regards the political temperature in this country. Things are very bad, Mr. Banda. Things are very, very bad on the ground. Zambia has never experienced what is happening right now. It's so bad. And as it were, Zambians are law-abiding people. They are waiting for time. And when time is up, there's nothing this government is going to do to stop the Zambian people from kicking them out of power.
Now, economically, do you feel the standoff in as far as the barrier of the late president has had an effect on it. I'm asking that because also in line with this, there's been a bit of conflicting statements that the president himself, the incumbent, is unable to make international trips and attend to some of the most pressing issues because he is holding on to a country that is in mourning. I am made to assume that that position has affected the economy somehow, because look, this is a chief marketing officer of this country, like you said, meaning he hasn't been out there to sell this country since the demise. And so the effect is definitely impacting negatively on this country, is it?
Well, the ideal situation is that as a country, we can't keep mourning this long and going beyond this far. And the fact that there's still a funeral, definitely there could be other sectors that may be affected. Though on a very small note, I must be able to mention, because now Zambians, as it were, have actually said, well, they know where the problem is. They've actually known that this funeral is actually holding up because of that one. Okay. And because they know the person, they've decided we can't mourn forever. Some old man in the village, a Mbunda man, while he was mourning his wife, and he lost a wife and a daughter. At the funeral, he says, Mulia, Mulila, Mulia, Mulila. That's Mbunda. So you eat, you mourn, you eat, you mourn. You can't mourn forever. And I can assure you that it could be one of the strategies the UPND is actually doing to ensure that they keep holding this funeral. This was a very straightforward matter that would have been concluded without much ado. Looking at how it started, where we are at now, and I don't want to go into the details because this is a very emotive matter, actually. And I know that the answer was in the hands of the government to release or loosen up the hearts of the family that is mourning. But it looks like, I think it's a tit for tat. It's 50-50, those who are mourning and those that have power. Right now, the ones with power, it's a government. The government is supposed to be the big brother. It's supposed to be the man with a big heart. They're supposed to say, look, this family has insisted. The principles and the concept that they've introduced during this funeral is very strange, and everyone is watching. But above all, I can tell you, as a young person in this country, I feel very sad that we can get to this point. I don't know what our elderly parents are teaching us, that a funeral can get this far. And if we can fail to resolve a matter of a funeral of a one man, I don't know how. Maybe let me even say probably now I know why we are in this type of a dilemma as a country. Because a funeral should have been easily been sorted out. And the question was only around one matter. The head of state must not be at the funeral. That doesn't take out his head of stateness if he didn't. I mean, this is just a funeral. And funerals have happened before, heads of state will never attend. That was the major part. Talking about the part of the economy that the chief marketing officer, he mentions that I think for me, if this is actually holding him from flying around, I wish there was a position to keep him not fly around. This man has overflown around. This is the man who condemned about 30-something flights or trips that late President Lungu took. He condemned 30-something trips. Him, within just about 6 months, he already hit that record. Right now, we've even lost a count.
Because it's strictly business for him.
Yeah, so if it's a strictly business, we actually hope that that business was going to translate now into actual benefits for Zambians. I'll recall a few of
most of his trips.
Yes.
Most of his trips have translated into debt restructuring, which is probably commendable.
No, so that debt restructuring, in fact, is a big topic. That's not what they had actually said. Right now, there's this restructuring they're talking about has not been achieved. There's still much more debate around the debt restructuring. Not only that, you can even see that he condemned the debt contraction, but today as we are talking, he's contracted over half of what the PF contracted in 10 years. So what are we achieving? And this issue of postponing debt to 30 years, generations beyond the time when we're going to live, is not a solution at all. And in opposition, he condemned that you cannot contract debt which you will not be able to fulfill with your time. is contracting, and they are pushing debt to 30, 25 years from now. That's not correct. So for me, all of those things, you saw how they celebrated about that, the same debt restructuring and the debt cancellations and all of those terms they were using. It's not it, you know. There was a time, or many times it's gone out, comes out with MOUs in the energy sector. For example, I'll give you an example. He signed many MOUs. He was in the UAE, comes back from there and says, we've signed $2 billion worth of renewable energies. It has not translated. Today, people are still in load shedding. He's had the trips to go. He comes back. This is what will happen. So for me, every time he's flying out, it's just a cost on the government. There's nothing much. So if really there is any other excuse we should give him and tell him, if you fly out, for me, I think it's better he stays home and manages the problems at home. There are many problems at home that require the attention of a president, not just flying around. So for me, flying out or not, I would rather he doesn't fly out. And that if he doesn't fly out, it means that there is no drain on our economy, on our treasury. So really, or maybe now they've told him that they don't want to see him, or maybe he's exhausted the whole world. He doesn't want to travel because now he thinks now he wants to use that as an excuse. Otherwise, me knowing him, he will not stop at not going anywhere because of Lungu's funeral. No, that I know he would not do. He would have flown out once, twice. He's been to all the ceremonies in the country. Is that not equal to flying out? He's been to traditional ceremonies. He's going to functions. For him, it's life as usual. They've been doing the campaigns freely. Even when just President Lungu died, we expected when there was still that national mourning, there were by-elections running in the country. There were by-elections running. We expected they were going to say, oh, our colleagues, the PF are mourning. Not only that, we've lost a head of state. We want to give him a dignified burial, send-off, and so on. We are going to postpone these elections. We hope they were going to do that. Within that same declared national mourning days, which President HH had announced, they did not cancel or stop or halt the elections. They went ahead to participate. They went ahead to in fact tell the people that their president is dead through political party representatives, leaders, and all those their pages that support the UPND. So if they've done all of those things, how different is that from him flying to go and sign an MOU, which he has signed, maybe the 1,000th MOU, which will never give us fruits and results in this country. So it's just an excuse. Really, it's an excuse to show for what Gambians clearly know that is not even true. So that's where we're at now. Hypocrisy.
Yeah, I'm still trying to search where you could be drawing your confidence about the UPND losing it next year, when there are statements being made by some section of the opposition political parties saying there is no opposition political party capable of out-seating the ruling party. Notable individuals are obviously in the opposition. Mr. Mohabi Lungu recently said, and we have heard this statement by some former senior individuals, like former PS Dr. Chanda Kasolo. He has equally stated that currently, as things stand, we don't seem to have an opposition capable of out-seating the current or the ruling party.
Yeah. So if you look at Honorable Mohabi Lungu's statement and the many others, those that mean well and would really want to guide correctly the government and so on, their statements actually around the fact that a disunited opposition cannot seat the current government. And this has been the case ever since. Even the UPND did not win on their own. They had to go into a UPND alliance for them to outseat the ruling Patriotic Front. Okay? Maybe it's only the PF, actually, in 2011, that on its own managed to win without an alliance. Okay? Before in this country, there have been many alliances. And in the world, there are many alliances that are happening. And so, while one political party can actually win the ruling party, the chances are there. And sometimes you'd really not want to wish to take that route and risk a chance of having to allow a government like the current government that we have to continue another 5 years of misery on its citizens. And so the call from Honorable Mohabi Lungu, a call from many of us, including myself, is that one single opposition political party cannot outrightly win a sitting government. So the core is for opposition to unite. The moment you go it, even in these by-elections, you've seen before that when you put together the numbers of the opposition, in some of the by-elections that have happened in this country, actually the opposition would have won. Their numbers accounted for more than the number of the winner from the ruling. So all of that put in one basket, it will actually be good for the country. And make no mistake, Mr. Zachariah, we are going to get to that point. We are going to get that point where the entire opposition will be working together. And for clarity's sake, any opposition political party you are going to see in future stand alone and not want to work with the others, that political party is either sponsored or they're not serious about really participating in the elections. Because there comes a point at which all your ideologies will zero into one and say, the fact that we are opposing the government, it means that we are put in one blanket as of similar mind. And so because we are similar mind, we only differ on a few ideologies. What do you believe in as a PF regards land reforms? Okay, mining sector. What do you believe as the SP, President Fred Membe? What do you believe in as the Zambia must prosper, and so on? So those differences are smaller than the major difference which we have against the ruling party. And so we'll get to that point. And the reason why we have this confidence as opposition is not because we just want to do politics. I think that we've gotten to a point where we are interacting with people. And again, ruling parties make many mistakes like that, to think that when they go anywhere, they get everyone following the president with motor vehicles, like you saw in the Copper Belt not too long ago. Motorcade is longer than the people cheering. And so people come from everywhere. Sometimes they even get the entire council chairpersons, all the mayors, when the president is going to Central Province, all the mayors will fly into the place where he is, all the councillors, the MPs, the ministers. So there's a stampede, okay, a fake stampede in an area. Then you say, we are still popular. There is a time that is coming where people are going to ask questions. When the UPND will have rallies and they have to point at what they have done, at that moment, the UPND will see that actually they are empty. They are empty. And the comparison is going to be very clear. PF here, UPND here. We'll not even talk about MMD, because you see what happens in this country is that, and wherever there's democracy, the next leadership must pick up from where the last left. And the expectation is that they must do better than they found the previous leadership deliverables. What is happening right now is any sector you want, just pick any sector, put it here, and then begin to dissect it in real terms. Where is it benefiting the people? You will see that sector by sector, the UPND is lacking, completely lacking. The education sector, lacking. Health sector, lacking. What sector? Agriculture, lacking. Everywhere. Their policies are just way hey. There's no, you know, we are supposed to be becoming better every day as a country. So we'll get to that point. And when we get that point, Zambians will ask the UPND, out of your 5 years in the education sector, how many universities have you built as government? How many colleges have you built? How many schools have you built? How many hospitals have you built? How many roads have you built? They promised a lot of things. PF went out to do 7,000 kilometers of tarring in this country, blacktop tires, outside gravels that were done. So we'll ask in the road sector, how many kilometers have you done as UPND? I heard one time, as if it's a mockery, some minister, must be Honorable Mirupi, and a few others, saying that they've done more tarmacs in this country. You tell Zambians like that as if they're not living in Zambia. So that point is coming. And if the Zambian people were able to unseat the PF for the lie of the UPND, I don't know what they would do to the UPND that has failed. Okay, because the lie of the UPND was that you are going to have milling is going to be cheap. We're going to have more fertilizer. We'll build more roads. We'll build more airports that are cheap, not the sausage airport that they're talking about, which is the Kenneth Kaunda International Airport, a masterpiece that got in 20. It was not 2020. It was the best airport in Africa. Okay, so for me, they will have to prove to the Zambian people. And at that moment, I think they will know that Zambian people don't play. And so we have the confidence from the Zambian people. And because we live with them, we all are suffering under the same. Load shedding is there for everyone else. Okay, the 2-3 hours that is being given to people, all of us are feeling the effects. The industry in this country is gone down. How can you talk of GDP being better and industry is only running for 3 hours? If they're going to run diesel generators, that is even a bigger cost for production. So how can the economy flourish under such a hard government that doesn't even care for its people? And yet they're still exporting power. No serious measures around the renewable energy in terms of increasing it. 5 years, they've only added 100 and something megawatts of power to the national grid. 100 and something through the solar. The rest of the projects were all PF projects, some of them at 90%, others completed, which is what increased to over 1,000 megawatts of power from the last creation of or addition of the national grid. So you put 100, your friends moved from 1,600 to 3,000, almost over 1,200 megawatts of power. You still want to say those didn't do, us, we are the ones that did. Okay, we all have been struggling, and we when we heard, and when the Zambian people heard president saying that in Dubai there is no rain, and yet they've got power 24/7, and he says that the problem is thinking. Zambian people believed him and said, it's true, because they've been to Dubai, they've heard stories of Dubai, they've seen how Dubai is doing. It's in a desert area, so they expected by now we should have had over 1,000 megawatts of power put in the grid. And just think for a moment, if that had happened, where were we going to be? Would have been far in terms of mitigating or recovery on the energy deficits. So with that comes unemployment in the industries. There's nothing that's happening. At a household, a small-scale businessmen, they can't do their babbing. They can't have their incubators for those farmers. They can't run. Okay, saloon owners can't operate. Barber shops can't open. And this is where they derive their livelihood. So clearly I can tell you, we are at a point where everything is being taken back to zero. Everything. Okay, the rule of law. Okay, those those laws which were draconian in nature, which were condemned by the government or by the UPND leader, then now the president of this country, are exactly the things now that is implementing even much more. And it's everyone who's affected. Everyone is affected. So you can even imagine how that, when they look, the Zambian people, when they look at the campaign promises of the UPND and then they look at the reality now, it's very sad. So this is where we are at.
Now, I know you've partly answered my next question, but I'll still ask it anyway. My question is, how do you rate the UPND performance? Of course, you've mentioned sector by sector they are lacking, right? But then they've got months to go. Well, others would say a year to go, but basically months, because I'm saying that by May next year, campaigns should have started, and I think the president should have dissolved parliament. So it's basically months. Any possibility that they can redeem themselves based on the lackings that you have listed?
Well, so in terms of rating them, there gets a time when even a Dow student, you can't say that they've not done completely nothing. I think that would be very, very unfair if I say that, no, there's actually nothing that they have done. That would not be a true statement. What they have done, unfortunately, falls below average. And when you fall below average, you are in the category that is called the fail. So they have actually failed. And the fail usually is either below 35% or below 40%. So when you are below 35% or you are below 40%, you are as good as you've gotten one, depending on where you are ranking. Some people, you take 10, you are in a fail. You take 20, you are in a fail. At that moment, we will not be able to actually even tell you that you are at 20% or you are at 30. All we'll be concerned about is a fail. If
how do you say that hurts? Because I mean, you say in this case, they should be hanging around 35%, and you are categorizing them as fail when not long ago they've released statistics of their own performance and they're at 90%.
So what actually hurts the most is not even my rating them. What hurts the most at this moment is actually the pain that the Zambian people are going through. That hurts. The fact that Zambians were told you're going to buy meal for 50 kwacha, that hurts the most. That they only wake up to find meals at 430, in certain places, even 500 kwacha. That hurts the most than me rating them. The fact that they promised the Zambian people there will be no load shedding, that hurts the most. The fact that they told the Zambian people that we're going to create employment, and they have actually killed employment by them having killed the industry, okay? That hurts the most. By them telling the people that we're going to give you 10 bags of fertilizer and they only deliver medals to the Zambian people, that hurts the most than declaring them failed with about 35% and below. What hurts the most is the fact that, in fact, even their numbers are not even correct. Every time they give you figures, you can even see, look, they've gone out to confess themselves. The UPND have gone out to confess that they've done 90% of their promises and they've listed them. From their same mouth, they've again gone to say our only failure is on the cost of living. Now, you and me know that the cost of living is a summation of the entire economy. So, cost of living, there's no one activity the UPND is going to do that is going to, like, if we are going to provide the safe, clean water, then the cost of living is okay. No, the cost of living is a combination of every sector. So the tourism industry is involved in the cost of living, the agricultural sector, and the agricultural sector broken into all the other activities, livestock, fish, piggery, chicken. Go and check their livestock 2023 livestock report that was produced. It's very rich. And in that, when you go to check, you find their numbers are so bad. 23, their numbers are so bad. There's no improvement. Cattle is faced with all the diseases. So if you say the cost of living is the only activity we need to work on, it means that all the other sectors you've not managed. Because if you achieve on the agricultural sector, then it means that there will be cheap meal, okay? And that cheap meal contributes to the lower cost or better cost of living. If your electricity is available and is cheap and affordable, it accounts for that. If really the free education you are talking about is anything, it should be able to contribute to the cost of living. But you see, you can tell the people that now education is free, but you are forgetting to tell the people that what you took out or what was being paid at that time when you took in power was 200 kwacha. So when you scrap out 200 kwacha for those living in Lusaka on their education for secondary school only, primary school up to 2021, it was free under the PF. It was free. Okay, primary up to grade 7, it was free from government schools. It was free. So you're talking of secondary schools. That's where there was a 200 kwacha in urban and there was a 150 kwacha in the rural areas. So when you look at these numbers, even if you scrap them out, so you are scrapping out 200 in town and you are increasing transport for a child to move from Chilenje to Kamwala for their school. Transport is gone up. By the end of the month, they will have spent over 1,000 kwacha on a child coming to school. And I'm being very basic here. Okay, then for a rural area, you take out the 150 kwacha on a grade 8 to grade 12 child going to school. And then what have you done? Because transport is expensive to take food that the child is supposed to carry for his breakfast in rural areas and so on. Cost of living is even high, because you know that Mirimi in Lusaka at 300, in Shangombo or in Vubwi is going to be 500 kwacha. So it means that you are doing more damage to the people than before. So cost of living alone accounts for over 80% of your successes. If there were 90%, the cost of living would have been far much better than it was under the PF. So for me, their numbers are not straight. Their numbers are crooked. And you can even see how they like to celebrate success, which is not even success. Right now, even before they've finished, you know that FRA is still buying maize now. They're still buying. In fact, they just opened up certain places. They were opening last week, others the other month, not even last month, because this is now September. They were opening around July, August, late July, August. That's when they were intensifying, meaning they're still buying now. Those numbers they were telling you, 3.6 million metric tons of maize that is going to be, is there. Actually, they say that 3.6 harvest is a projection. And you and me know that a projection is either correct or not correct. It can be higher or below. Usually it will never be exact. So with a projection only of 3.6 million, the UPND is already celebrating, and they've already made a cabinet decision to export 501,000 metric tons of maize out of this country. Look at it. And the government requires people that are forward-looking. What if there will be a drought in the 2025-2026 farming season? Are we not going to look back and say we needed that? So they're telling you that there's about 348,000 metric tons in stock now. And so when they add the 3.6, they'll be at 4 million metric tons. I mean, the national consumption is actually around the about 3-point-something million metric tons for a country, about 3.1, 3.2 million metric tons, maybe even depending on the consumption and the appetite of the market for those ones in the, for example, brewers, those who are doing beers, those that are doing fish. If they increase on their fish farming, it means that there will be more to take in. So you are literally going to subject this country to a point where you will be actually living at the line. Any 1 month beyond, then the country is to import. What type of planning is that? So, but this government will go out to show a picture which is not even correct. They have lied all their time. In the opposition, they've lied. In the ruling, they're still lying. In fact, they're still giving more campaign promises now as it is, as if they're in the opposition.
Now, I'm finding things very difficult in terms of, much as you have outlined what failures of the UPND government are, and you are presenting yourself to the Zambian people as the alternative come 2026. Tell me the alternatives, considering that you recently came out of government as Patriotic Front, and I think that and I know that you were a cabinet minister and Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries for that matter. You need to give the people the confidence in terms of alternatives to, and I'll just mention a few: energy sector, alternative in the education, and agriculture, where you were even minister. What different alternatives are you giving the Zambians, and why they should vote you for back into government?
Very well. So for us as PF, in fact, what we intend to do is to, other than the bad devices that were attached to the PF, and we as a party went to do a postmortem soon after losing the elections, and the report is very clear. The people that we went out to inquire, who were genuine, how do we move going forward as a party? It was very clear that even today, if you asked anyone, when the phone calls are going to open, you actually hear the people say cadres, PF cadres. You hear the people talk about corruption having been rampant and so on. Outside those, you actually see that the Zambian people to date are saying that we performed well in almost all the sectors. We performed very, very well. They'll tell you, even those that are going to court today, you hear someone saying, we were not coming to Lusaka. There were cadres at bus stations, okay? That we acknowledged as a party, and everyone, including our late president, regretted the fact that that's what happened. He regretted, and all of us regret. And that I can assure you that sector by sector, in the agricultural sector, for example, when we got into power, the cost of fertilizer was twice the figure that we left fertilizer at. That is in public domain. Our intention was to continue reducing the cost of fertilizer, because if the inputs are cheaper, it means that production is going to be cheaper. And when production is cheaper, it means that the consumer is going to benefit from that. Okay, so then the cost of milling meal will be cheaper. Okay, now there is a debate that no, then the farmers are not going to have been catered for in this, because if maize is cheaper, then the farmer is suffering. The farmer right now is suffering, or the farmer now is actually feeling the impact, because the cost of inputs are 2-3 times higher than before. So if a 50 kg bag now is sold at around 300 kwacha today, 50 kg bag, because I hear that it's actually
about 340. Yeah,
because it's about 6 kwacha per kg. So if it's 6 kwacha per kg, that's the FRA price. You calculate by 50, it takes you to 300 kwacha. But I know that they've been talking of increasing a little bit, but that was a price. Okay, so at 300 kwacha per that bag, you ask yourself, what is the price of fertilizer now? So the price of fertilizer now is ranging around 1,100, 1,200. That would be the ranges of fertilizer, and depending where you are. What was the price at a time under PF? It was 600 kwacha, 700 kwacha. That was the price. Okay. What was the price of seed then? So these are the factors. What is the price of fuel now for you to run a tractor? Okay. What's the price of fuel now for you to get your implements from Lusaka or from the market to where you are? Even in town itself, if you are in a rural district, for example, in a district, you need to move your fertilizer from the central collecting point to your farm. What's the cost of a diesel? So those put together, they will amount for actually a loss on a farmer today than before, even if they were going to sell their maize at a time, maybe for 180 kwacha or 200 kwacha. So these are the numbers, and the effect of this is impact direct on a farmer who now has realized that it's a raw deal now. They'll part out with a lot of money for them to invest in farming compared to what they would have at a time in PF. So for us as PF, really, we are going to continue from where we ended. We made the significant milestones actually in the agricultural sector. You know, the e-voucher was introduced during our time. And these are some of the things that people don't want to want to talk about.
But along the way, you made very questionable policies around agriculture, especially when your government at the time chose to increase the market price for soybeans, and as compared to the maize, and we saw a shift in terms of farmer response. Yeah. Most farmers decided to go and cultivate or venture into soybean farming, and that had an effect on maize in terms of so many people went into soybeans and abandoned the maize. And this became and again, you'd want to question, why was this? How did this rationale come about, really? Because you must have anticipated that most farmers will abandon the cultivation of maize, and that may result into milling meal shortage, and probably prices will spike. What was the rationale behind that?
Yeah, so you know, the agricultural sector is a business, and it being a business, market forces apply in there. And it's that same thing that happened during the time. And I want to tell you that it was not just soybeans. Many other crops, cotton, at certain given times, cotton prices will be high. And when that happens, it means that other people reduce on this and then concentrate on this one. During the PF time, at any given time of a season, PF never had, even when there would be droughts, there would never be a time when PF during the government would get a harvest less than 3.1 million metric tons at any given time. And that was secure for the market. And this is the reason why in 2021, around October, when our colleagues took over power, they rushed to see whether or not there was a reserve in our in our warehouses. They found that there was a lot of reserve, which was accumulation of maize surplus from 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021. And that is what they went out to sell before they even settled. They went quickly to sell. It's because at any given time, in fact, the intention of any good government is to promote diversification of our crops. And soya is just such one of them. And if it's fetching well in the market, it's better we encourage such a type of crops. Cotton was one of them, okay, tobacco and so on. So that was actually not even a mistake. It was a strategy. As long as there was enough reserve on our staple,
stock, yeah.
our staple food, that was the intention, and that continues. In fact, even during the same time, we as a PF would even allow maize to private sector, because what pretty much accounted for the national harvest were small-scale farmers who were again supported by the government. So there was a win. In fact, there was a more win on a farmer than it would have been, even in comparison to date. So yes, again, I want to say, we were not 100% right. Certain policies that could have been made would have been off the preferred policies that could have been implemented. But I want to say that the major policies, okay, were made under the PF. The health sector, I can imagine for a moment today that had we as government not introduced the National Health Insurance Scheme, the NIMA, just how many people would have died out there? That scheme today, just go and check the beneficiaries or the suppliers or those that are on NIMA. You saw the numbers that government is owing those people, okay, for the first time, despite contributions from members. So where are they? How are they spending their money? Or maybe this project, the NIMA, they did not understand it very well. So these are some of the high points that the PF was able to do. And when we are given back the power, we're going to improve all of these sectors. The NIMA was going to improve. We're going to now put in more other services, okay? Just get it better. We're going to do that. Under the energy sector, we as a PF, at the time we were leaving power, we were around 3.2, 2.8 was what was addition. Then there were other power stations that were under development. Some of them have not been completed. They've stored now and so on. And there were other renewable energy projects that were in the pipeline. Some of them had been contract signed and so on. When the UPND came in power, they squashed off everything. And they said all of these who were involved in the renewable energy were actually corrupt and therefore canceled the projects. There was over 600 megawatts of power from the solar alone before we talk about wind. So the intention of the PF was to take those numbers to 10,000 megawatts of power. With that, we're going to get more Zambians being connected to the national grid so they can benefit the power everywhere. If you look at Zambia today and compare those who are on ZESCO or those who have power today, those that don't, we actually don't have. We are categorized as a darky country. You are flying in the night, or you go on Google in the night, try and Google Zambia in the night and check, the area is dark. Other places are lit. So the intention of PF was going to take it to 10,000 plus megawatts of power. With that, there will be surplus. And you know that Zambia is surrounded by about 8 countries. With those countries around, we are going to be exporting freely without having to create a deficit in the country. Unlike what's happening right now, that power is going out and there's no power in this country. Because it's a business, it's a market, this is a product. The energy sector is a business. If we have more power, we can will it to around the neighborhood. It would go to South Africa. It would go to even East Africa. That's where we were going. We were actually building on international connectors in the energy sector so that just by the button, power from Kariba, power from Itestes, my former constituency, is going to be in Kenya. That's how far we are going. And the energy alone is very expensive. It can actually help in the economic challenges that we have. So those are some of the things that we were looking at. Hospitals were being built everywhere around the country. So for us, we are saying to the people, did you see anything good?
But a number of mines collapsed under your regime.
So when you go to check, for us, in fact, let me tell you that now this is now not PF. Now this is me. For me, I will tell you that if the Zambian people are not benefiting from the mining produce, the copper, the gold, the mining sector, if Zambians are not benefiting as much, I would even rather not open these mines. Leave them for our children. Maybe they will have better plans for this country than giving mines to foreigners. They have a big stake in the mining sector. Some of what was happening is that our people were actually suffering at the expense of mine products on copper produced and so on. So if we don't have a plan for Zambia yet, let's not exploit. Let's not leave holes in this country for our children to just come and fall in and suffer forever. So for us, anytime there was a standoff, government would say, will this benefit the people of Zambia? If no, would rather the mine is on a halt until such a time. What's happening right now is that the people benefiting much are those people who are their friends. You saw how big mines were being given out to companies that don't even have experience in the mining sector. You've seen how there was a controversy. We didn't say we're going to give this company to this mine to this company. Who said that? Later you saw how the same companies were the ones they've awarded. So yes, that would have been the case, but we were able to flourish with other sectors. The economic, for example, the tourism sector was doing well, the agricultural sector was doing well, and all of these other many sectors. We were able to run our budgets, we were able to do roads, we were able to do this because we had a plan. These ones are the plan.
Mr. Greyford Monde is my guest. He is the Patriotic Front member of the Central Committee and also a former minister in the PF regime. We will now be taking phone calls and just allow you, our listener, to interact with our guest. And also on our Facebook page, we also have a couple of comments. We will definitely be reading them out for our guest to respond. This is the Tuesday edition of The Burning Issue. The number you're calling us on is 0955-221515. That's the number you're calling us on. Good morning and welcome to The Burning Issue. Please share your name and where you're calling us from.
Tauka bazaki mwaka bwandi.
Tauka bwindi.
Vamake Angela pagade chirura.
Vamake Angela.
Hey. Honorable Mwipa.
Tauka vamake Angela ku garden.
Mavuto ya mina ya road shed. Road shedding 2 years. We man. Molondo labu ino Monde. The government yakangwa kusebenza. Vuto ya mina bali naba bali muboma bamukakamba. Wewe wakamba TI hao ni ba PF. Onani mwalimu kama corruption yanashika mboma mwao. Ma containers ngani ya mambashe ndeno ni September. Wenzo kamba ti Afrika na manje si Afrika. Mwaona te? Mwamene basebenzesera utabinga mwamene mwatikotsira explain hapa. Tabinga bamuyuzinga tabe. Alibepo na muntu baona rebonde. Kukamba tabetulunga mobite konso banazo kamba tabinga yesterday sinaseka maningi pa mafoni. Kwa mataimu is Africa Monde. Itilizani swa tabe, wakuti swa kupasani platform yote hapo campaign. But paper ground isiripo. Kukama tabe chirungamba. Kuri Zambiani, amba ende kudia mkataba bweze pofuta aba UPND. Ma problems ya neba chile. Cost of living is high. Ana watu ma industries machito wanawaimika kamba road shading amne swasiriza. Vagulisa malai drama zingera matumba mwao. Nani pa presidential stand pa japana pese kaja scandal na manje suwati uuza. Bonse wenendani ma corruption ibarizi. Wenendani enzo kufole na weku. Banangala tabezi ni vambiri vanavitsika mboma yao. Bati wali kublema yo PF inasia yaono. Bati wakangwa weka kusevenza. Bali nukulirira ba PF. Pamonde tiri mumbuyo mwanu. Aba bantu 2026 baenda. Weza bafuna si bafuna. Bazambia ni menze kubaye support kuti wabaode kuti ijama kampeni yao kuti unga $50 immediately when I was swearing dollars zaita nani kani kulibe na mulirero itakakileta niwenzo enda nayo baite kanga inasira mabattery kaya naso bakaya bintu bane bisika mtawanda UPND government bonse nfolu bana bamundi tiku bako kumbukani ba PF mwenzo sevenza bwino sina gulepo unga pa 400 mwanda PF olo inkuku ya meleti gula ya white 160 mu PF yanze 50 kwacha kaja kalea kaja kenze 25 kwacha MPF by manje kalea ni 130 kwacha ija ya white 160 maona mavuto abati dia samasoya pieces anawenzo pita monayo na tupamela ndiye tometi vuti kanayo nino wa drama zatu webe waita benefit kuza ma corruption in way ne masebo wabachinja tabe wabatosa kubapeleka huko mayo na maskando ali muri bayo
Yes, come. I have two questions, comments on Facebook that I would like you to respond to. One is from Jamusi Chula. So Jamusi Chula says the maize in stock that you're talking about was actually not paid for. I was one of the suppliers, and I understand that actually the UPND have stated on several occasions that the reason that stock was sold was because they needed to pay the farmers, because your regime at the time mopped out the maize but never paid the farmers. Another one from Sia Dia says PF refused to give meal allowances. This is another issue that the UPND are working head high on, that they brought back the meal allowances and that it was important. Let me give you one more call and then you can respond to them. Good morning.
Good morning, Wazaki.
How are you today?
I'm okay. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Please share your name and where you're calling us from.
Mutare calling from Kabwe.
Mutare from Kabwe.
Mkwai.
Mkwai wa Mutare.
Na poja ona riba mulina lena.
Mkwai.
Depo konga na paso valera ndane kutikira. Paso wa PF watusungire. Toba 2.8 mwandi. Ba PF valera ndimba matayiro kere ngana tsara ayo tishia kwa marai. Nambo uteko na irengura yalika kunambo kushia marai wetu. Kuna kukawara atanga atanto 4 kuya ni 05. Wepeja atewa mwadi wale mwa wakabora. Wamma bana tsawani containers kwa bika manja. Era bena zambe bakuru wetu barekwa. Umone ba America ba drone 1.4 billion ija. Yare makumugiri ya kila mayaravi. Kuma ndo abukabora rere bange mpawa. Mwandi wotolo kwa maditaji mwikatana abantu baza mukutipa ngutukwirikisha. Mwana nyaba twachuriye kuyashira ngona kunga twesa 350 ukawo. Baja pana ambo kuchisha matawa. Usobantu wa mzango cyane batabaza kama nawe na Zambia. Bena baza muku yinoke shashi. Iya video waranda ati waru ndazibye kuyombe amatumba yawo. Kuna kukawa kusentira kuri ba MP wabo. 3% yawo. Yakwa wana nguvimo watetera byo rukungu. Uri kutira mandi muri ute